Okay, I'd like to call the North Aurora Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, August 4th, 2025 to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gavino.
Here.
Trustee Christensen.
Here.
Trustee Curtis. Here. Trustee Gately.
Here.
Trustee Lowry.
Here.
Trustee Nedved.
Here.
Trustee Salazar.
Here.
Are there any comments? Anybody like to speak? Seeing none. Trustee comments? All right, first item under discussion, Steve?
Thank you. Item number 1 under discussion is an incentive request. This is for a building located at 201 Genesis Drive. It is formerly the Citibank and T-Mobile building that's off of Orchard and Gateway roughly. And this is part of our economic strategy has been to attract restaurants. One of the things that we have heard that people want in town are fast casual dining, and one of those that you've seen pop up in a consistent manner in the last couple of years is Beef Shack. And so Mike has been working with the owners of that building for quite a while, and we've come to a tentative agreement for the board to review as a possible incentive. Jason's going to walk you through all the details, but really the incentive is the fact that there's no drive-through at that building. And we're working with the business owner to really generate retail and sales tax revenue out of that building as opposed to office space. And by doing this incentive, the staff is hoping that it not only paves the way for Beef Shack, but also paves the way for any other business in the future that may want to use that drive-through should Beef Shack ever leave. It also incentivizes the empty space next to it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jason, and we'll go from there.
Okay, we'll go through a brief presentation, and then we'll invite John up if he has anything to add. But just some background, the Geralds bought 201 Genesis in 2024. Previously, that was in Unit B, a T-Mobile store, and in Unit A, a Citibank. That's been vacant for a few years now, sitting empty. Beef Shack has signed a 10-year lease for Unit B. And I'll show that map in a second here, but that's pending a construction of a drive-through. They've gotten quotes on the drive-through, and that's projected to cost about $350,000. So what Gerald's asking for is a sales tax incentive that essentially pay for half or help pay for half of the cost of adding the drive-through on to the building. And as Steve mentioned, the economic development strategy, restaurants are a qualified business for incentives, as well as site preparedness is a qualified expense in our policy. So here's the property here just across from the Riverfront dealership. So that would be the south property of where Beef Shack is looking to go. The north property, Unit A, is still looking for a tenant there. We have a couple of pictures that Nathan helped provide of showing the drive-through. So this drive-through through the bump out is what they're looking to construct with the drive-through lane here. And then here's just another picture of the south Unit B showing what it could look like with that drive-through that's going to be added onto that site. So what the incentive request is up to $175,000, which is half the cost of the drive-through, over 10 years, or basically $175,000 or 10 years, whichever happens first, would be rebated back annually. It would be 100% of the sales tax generated by Unit B, or Beef Shack in this case. And then what we're looking to do is add on 25% of sales tax generated by a future Unit A dealership, or tenant. Beef Shack's projected to generate about $20,000 in sales tax a year. So looking at the projections that were provided, just Beef Shack alone and with their projections, that $175,000 would be paid off in year 10. So it'd probably take them to the full year 10. But that extra 25% sales tax we're putting on the future Unit A is talking through this. It sounds like there have been some tenants that have come by and looked at Unit A, but they've been really like non-sales tax related people who wouldn't add any additional revenue to the building more service type industry. So we figured if we added a 25% onto there, that might help incentivize attracting some, maybe an additional restaurant or additional retail use to put additional sales tax within the village. That would, help us get more, basically pay that $175,000 off on the original Unit B down faster by helping them get their money, their $175,000 back, but then also having 2 restaurants or retail uses in that vacant building now to help provide additional sales tax in the future. And as mentioned, some of this, but some benefits, helps achieve an economic development goal within our strategic plan. The drive-through, obviously Beef Shack has the 10-year lease, but if they were ever to leave within that 10 years, having a vacant building with an actual drive-through where another restaurant can come through would be a pretty marketable for us to have. And then, as I mentioned, the 25% incentive, that's really to help encourage maybe a future restaurant or retailer. But then it helps that 100% sales tax on the Beef Shack, as I mentioned, to where we're not going to be receiving anything over the next 10 years in sales tax for Beef Shack. But if we had that additional 25% to help pay that 175 down faster, that would be quicker that we would get that Beef Shack sales tax back on our revenue stream. John, if there's anything else you want to come up and add,
Happy to answer any questions. Just one minor technical correction. There was a reference to Gerald Auto Group. This property was purchased by the patriarch of the Gerald family, but it's not there. There's no common ownership with the actual dealership operations themselves. It's Neil Gerald, Doug and Matt's dad, who, through a trust, created the LLC to purchase this property. The owner of Beef Shack did share with me his estimated revenue number and thought it was quite realistic at $2 million, which would result in the 20,000 or 1% of that. But I know there are other local fast casual restaurants that generate higher annual revenue than that. And I think the owner of Beef Shack was being truly realistic. So hopefully, the sales will grow quite a bit faster than the projection and realize the return and the initiation of sales tax to the village sooner than 10 years.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, as we were going through the process too, we have information with all the restaurants kind of within the village and see how much sales tax. And that 20,000 is kind of where we thought to, or 2 million in sales, just based on everything else that we have kind of in the area. We thought that was a pretty comfortable number. So like I said, John said, it could be higher, but it's a really conservative, realistic number I think that they should be hitting.
Can you share what the yearly lease cost would be?
The net beginning
Yeah.
rental amount prior to any triple net type CAM reimbursements is $19 a square foot.
Wow. So my problem with it is there's very little risk involved for the owner of the building. It's a pass-through directly to the tenant, and then you're asking us to foot the bill on it, and we're going to make maybe $25,000 off of this in 10 years. You have very little risk and skin in the game, and to me, that's unacceptable. I'm not saying we shouldn't give them anything, but I'm saying you should have some risk. I mean, this is tenant-specific. The building could still be rented to any other user without a drive-through, and it makes it more attractive with the drive-through, but it's a pass-through to the tenant being funded by the village. So I think you need to have a little skin in the game. I'm not against doing something, but I'm not paying for half of it. I think that's a little gratuitous to ask for.
Well, any of the rebates would not go to Beef Shack. They'd go back to the property owner in this case. So anything generated within that space at Unit B would go back to the developer, the property owner, to help reimburse. It wouldn't go to Beef Shack.
In my opinion, this is no different than a trade fixture that should be paid for by the tenant.
I'm actually fine with it. I think it's an addition to the community that people would really like, a Beef Shack. In addition to having another restaurant in that corridor, I think and I agree with the assessment of Beef Shack that they'll do quite well in that area. Plus Gerald Ford and Gerald Company has been very good to the village. So I'd be in favor of giving them their.
So the incentive would be based on what the actual amount to build the drive-through structure would be, or we're just saying that the most it would be is 175,000. So
half. So the drive-through is projected at 350 to do. So we're saying half basically half the drive-through. So we're capping any rebate at either 10 years or 175,000, whichever comes first.
Okay, so it's capped at 175,000.
175 or 10 years. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Todd?
I think the number, probably one of the top, I guess, wants that our residents, or that the residents want in town is more food options, right? That's exactly why we put the incentive policy in. This fits it exactly, so I'm in favor of it, 100%.
Jason?
I'm kind of against the total amount,
Of the,
the 175. I think it should be less.
I wish we'd be at least open to negotiate. It seems like we run into this pattern of people request and we give them what they want. And our role on the board is to get a good deal for the residents as well. There's no reason we have to take exactly what they want, and I think we should do some due diligence and say, is this a good deal for the village? Yes, we want the business, but do we have to always give everybody exactly what they want? I don't think they do. We do.
They're asking for half. We've typically done this in the past, and most of them.
The building
we've
has
done.
been sitting empty.
We've typically gave half to most businesses. Well, I'll use the coffee shop as an example. We gave them more than half. So depending on where it is, our rule is, since I've been here, is we've always done half,
And
whether
we-
you like it or not.
And we have said no, as
Yes.
recently as in the last couple of meetings, we said no for incentive. So we don't always say yes, and we don't always agree, so. I-
The tenant's getting a triple, I mean, he's getting a triple net lease. He's getting a great deal. And then we're going to be footing the bill to put in trade fixtures for the tenant.
No, it's a tax incentive. It's
Right,
not.
well, we're paying for half of it. We're not paying for all of it, right? It's 50% of what
He's-
the improvement cost would be.
The owner would be contributing to the tenant's interior improvements, the build out of the kitchen.
Oh, okay,
and-
okay.
And investing, upwards of $500,000 altogether. In addition, Beef Shack's putting in several $100,000 as well. And,
I got a question, Jason. What is Gerald, with all the companies that they own, what do they generate for us?
Oh, God, I don't have the number.
I mean,
but
that'd be a
it's-
big
it's-
number,
yeah,
right?
It's pretty.
We're
pretty
looking at some big
significant,
numbers
yeah.
that this company generates as it is. And all what they're asking for is a half of a benefit for a beef shack, what everybody in North Aurora wants.
But we're not going to get any benefit for 10 years.
It's a tax incentive, is what it is. And it's
Every
servicing the
100%
people, their needs.
100% of the sales tax is going to be rebated back to them for 10 years, maybe 9.
It's sales tax. That's tax revenue. Now, that's not like giving them money. That is like a tax incentive for the company to come. We've done these all the time, especially there where we need another restaurant.
It's a 10-year lease, so if they don't do good, we make not a penny.
They're going to do
profit.
fine. We just disagree. I'm with it, and no more
No, what
discussion
I'm
from
saying
Mark's
is we
end.
don't have to give them
That's
why
fine.
do we have to pay half? I'm not for not giving them anything. I'm
Okay.
saying we need to do
fine.
something that's fair for us and fair for them.
What do you propose?
I would say we would do 25%. Why 50%? We're not going to see any money for 10 years on this.
With
Either
the
that or
addition-
let's change the allocation and do something with Unit A to try to get our money back a little bit sooner. If we really want to sweeten the pot, that's an economic incentive for a vacant space.
Property hasn't
We could
generated-
lower the amount, but increase the allocation for Unit A. That makes it a little bit more desirable for them to find a tenant.
Agreed.
Sorry if I cut you off there, but the property hasn't generated any occupational retailer tax for 7 years. And we worked with the village for the past year to try to arrange who would be the ideal tenant. We had offers for more rent, for less contribution towards the tenant improvement allowance, and we just took the village's suggestion, the staff's suggestion at 50%, and tried to work forward and make this work for everybody. It's saw it as a partnership, and there's no net out of pocket to the village.
No, there's no out of
It's
pocket.
collective.
There's no out of
Nothing.
pocket.
Nothing out of
It's
pocket.
collective. And with that additional incentive of 25%, if we can get Unit A filled by a tax-paying business, that will accelerate this process significantly.
Yeah, I think my perspective is everybody's always looking for better restaurants and places to eat. And over there, you have McDonald's, you have Taco Bell, and this Beef Shack would be another, feather in our cap. And I agree with Trustee Gately and Nedved that, well, as you said, it's been vacant for 7 years. So it's like, nothing from nothing is still nothing. So it's like, get that going. You see an issue with Unit A having a incentive, yes or no? Any problems with renting that out?
It was actually staff that sat down and put the Unit A incentive in the agreement. The original agreement that Mike's been working on for a year was to work on a drive-through. The cost of the drive-through went up exponentially because there was a sewer that needs to be relocated and some work in the actual parking lot area. So originally, we thought the project was going to be just for the drive-through, much cheaper than this. But when it came back at this dollar amount, at that point, Mike said, okay, well, 100% reimbursement in sales tax is 50% of the cost. That's how he came up with the 10 years. We sat down and said, at least we've not had a sales tax in that second unit. I know the Geralds have indicated that they've had some non-sales tax interest in that unit. So we said Orchard's our commercial corridor, it's one of them. We got to incentivize this, A, to get that incentive paid faster, but B, to incentivize the Gerald family to fill that space with a retail occupant that can pay sales tax as well. So the 25% was purposely to pay down that 10 years faster.
I'm for it.
Trustee Mike?
Yeah, I actually, in reading this at home, I thought there was little benefit to the village. But in listening to this conversation, and especially the point where this gentleman made the comment that for 7 years we've gotten nothing anyway, so I guess we can continue to get nothing for a while, and in the meantime build a nice restaurant that I kind of like myself. And the other point, the reason I am kind of in, not kind of, but I am in favor of it, is that our auto mall is bringing us a great deal of revenue, and I think we need to be kind of cognizant of that as well when we make these decisions. So I'm in favor of it. So
I should make it a point too, and I get the argument, I really do, because Mike and I sat down with Jason and we've gone through this back and forth. It is a lot of money, it's a high percentage to ask for, but at the same time, this was an absolutely targeted business. This was a business that the staff went after based on feedback that we've gotten from people that they wanted a beef shack. And when we found out that the only way to make that work is to get a drive-through, and we had limited drive-through options in town, that's really became the issue. The fast casual dining wants drive-throughs, and there aren't many drive-throughs left in North Aurora that were available.
And they want a beef shack.
So we have four in support of it, so any other things you need, Steve?
No, if there's no changes, it just goes back to the board for a vote.
Okay, yeah, all right, thank you. All right. All right, that concludes our discussion of item 1. We're going to motion to adjourn to exec session for collective bargaining.
Motion to adjourn to exec session for collective bargaining.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. All right, have a good night, everyone.